Hi, everyone. Welcome to UCLAX Film Fest 2021. I'm Morgan Eagle. I am in marketing at UCLA Extension and also serve on staff assembly. I'm very excited and thrilled to be here on behalf of Entertainment Studies at UCLA Extension to moderate today's Filmmaker Panel. We have an exciting lineup of filmmakers whose work is being showcased in this year's film festival. We hope that you've had an opportunity to watch all of their films on the festival website. If you haven't yet, we'll drop a link to the festival website in the chat. Our conversation will take place over the next hour or so. Please drop any questions you may have in the chat box throughout the discussion, and we'll address those questions towards the end of the panel. Now, I would like to introduce our panelists, so go ahead and turn on your videos. Screens. Our first panelist is Julia Gil de Freitas and B. Paolucci with the film Bathroom Window. We also have Juan P. Soto with Don't Leave Me. Maju Cancela with the film Love in the Times of Quarantine. And Robert Dill with Stranger in the Closet, and also Alexandra Furman with Untwined. So to begin, welcome everyone. If you could please introduce yourself, your role in the film, and the basic plot or logline of your film. So let's start with Julia and B.
Hi, I'm B. I'm a writer, but I also produced and voice acted on Bathroom Window.
I'm Julia. I directed, I edited, and I acted in Bathroom Window.
Very cool. Alexandra.
Hi. Yes, I am the director and writer of the film Untwined, which is a story about loss and experiencing loss.
Thank you. Juan.
Hi, I'm Juan Pedro. I'm the director of Don't Leave Me, No Me Abandones in Spanish, and I'm the writer, director, and producer.
Thank you. And Maju.
Hi, thank you, Morgan. I'm Maju Cancela. I'm a writer and filmmaker, and in Love in Times of Quarantine, I written, directed, and produced it.
Very cool. And last but not least, Robert.
Hi, everyone. My name is Robert Dill. I'm the writer, director, producer, actor, editor, everything of this silly little short Stranger in the Closet. It's a little horror thing, so hopefully it scares the pants off you. It was a lot of fun. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely had goosebumps. So describe the moment when you decided during the pandemic that you were going to make your film. What made you decide, I want to do this during the pandemic? And feel free to jump in.
So, okay. Oh, sorry. So I started the process of making Love in Times of Quarantine right when the pandemic started. So we were all living in a moment of fear and doubt about life and the future. And I found myself stuck in a loop with only bad news. And at some point, I couldn't take it anymore. And I just thought that it would be really cool if someone threw in our feed something funny and just to make us laugh and feel hopeful. So that was what made me write and call up my friends and let's make a movie. Let's put something happy out there. So yeah.
Very cool. Juan, I'm going to ask you, what made you decide when you did to create your film during the pandemic?
So I was in between classes when I started doing the short, but I had the idea a long time ago, because I wanted to explore the theme of how somebody goes through death and goes to, especially the death of a child, of a son, and when the pandemic hit, I knew that the short will be very easy to make because it was one actor, and the majority of the technical part was not that complicated to make. The majority of it was on exteriors, and so I just wanted to start something and do it in the middle of the pandemic, and I think it fit with the struggle that everybody was going through with loss, of relative ones, so.
And Alexandra, can you tell us what made you want to do your film when you did? What was that moment like when you decided, I'm going to do this?
It was a moment where I've been meaning to shoot a short film for a couple of years, and I actually wrote it very differently previously, and then we were all stuck in quarantine, and I was thinking that this story, since it is about loss, is relatable to a lot of people during this time, and that I should figure out a way to still shoot it as was planned to shoot this last summer. And so I made the decision to go ahead with it. It was probably about 4 or 5 months into the quarantine when I decided to do it, and I did almost go back on that decision because it just seemed enormously hard to pull off, especially with any size crew. But our crew was very, very small. We mostly shot outside, so it was easy to do that way. But I just felt that there wasn't a better time to do it than now, since there are so many people experiencing loss.
And Julian B, tell me a little bit about what made you both decide to make the film when you did.
Well, we were also in quarantine, and our apartment's very small. And our bathroom windows it faces other bathroom windows. So sometimes where we were in the bathroom, we would also listen to people talking when they were in the bathroom, and that informed our idea to maybe make a movie about that.
Yeah, that was our social life for months, just hearing other people singing in the shower.
Singing in the shower, exactly.
So and I mean, we also we like 1930s, 1940s, and 1950s comedies.
Yeah.
So it was very informed by that too. And it was just kind of like, okay, we're two filmmakers living together. We're in quarantine. We have all the time in the world, so might as well, try to make something out of it.
Very cool. And Robert, I'll go to you. I know your film is a horror film, and I know that a lot of the other shorts kind of have the theme of love, loss. Tell me a little bit about what made you decide to film when you did, and what was that decision like?
Honestly, Morgan, I was just really bored. No. This was an idea that me and the other folks in it had for a little while, and we started shooting it as something fun to do, but also as kind of like an experiment for. I apologize, I haven't gotten the chance to watch everybody else's shorts, and I don't know if you've seen mine or not, but the whole thing takes place in just a room, much, I guess, like in the bathroom window, like you were saying. The point being is that what was something we could do that's super just contained, but also something really fun. And then also for me, I'm a gosh dang maniac, and when I go and watch like It or those movies or something like that, I find myself laughing more than anything else, just because of how creepy they are. And I thought, oh, that would be something fun to do, something creepy. And then very inspired by David Sandberg, who did a bunch of the Annabelle movies and Lights Out and et cetera. But it was essentially something fun and something distracting in a way. Like when we started shooting it, the world had just caught on fire.
Yeah.
And we just kind of we're like, so kind of something just fun, distracting kind of to do as well. So it was just as much for us as anybody else that's watching it, I suppose.
And okay, so for our next question, can you speak about the challenges of filming during the COVID-19 pandemic, and how did it shape your film? Did it change things that you had originally planned out? Or let's kind of see from Maju, what challenges did you face?
So the film was molded to be made during a pandemic, so it shaped everything. Like I mentioned, it was the very beginning, so we didn't know a lot about the virus, and it was during lockdown. So everyone was very scared to go out, even for like a walk. And so the idea was something that we could do 100% remotely, but also that we could relate to the moment we were living. So, I mean, a Zoom meeting is what everyone's been experiencing since day one. And that was what we thought, like, let's take something that we're all experiencing and see what cool or fun outcomes a boring work Zoom meeting can have. And so that was what started it all. And we did everything remotely. No one met in person for this. So we had all the actors self-shoot, and it was extremely challenging because, well, first, I wasn't in the same room with anyone. So it's very hard to express your vision and just not being able. Also, I'm Brazilian, so I just think that sometimes you just want to touch someone and, you know, just like, look, maybe this, and I couldn't. So I was just over the phone and video calls trying to explain. And we also had to ask everyone, especially the actors, to put on a lot of hats because they had to set up their own backgrounds, set up their own lights. And of course, we had a crew with them trying, like, helping every way that we could. But it was very challenging in that way. And post-production, of course, is a little bit easier to do remotely. And I actually live with my partner, is also helped in the film. He did some special effects and animation. So that was like, we were literally the only two people who were in the same room while working on the film. And yeah, it was super challenging, but honestly, it was super fun and a great, much appreciated distraction during, I mean, while hell was breaking loose. So
yeah, no, it was hilarious. And I was curious because it was just put together so perfectly. Was it filmed live or was everything done in post? Because it looks flawlessly live, but I'm gonna guess post.
It was not done live. It was, and that was, I think, also like very, very challenging. Because what we did was we had one actor, the Roy and Renato Cruz, he recorded himself and we did everything. And he was like, when he was ready, everything ready, we sent his part to everyone else and had them act against him.
Okay.
But even so, we did have to do a little tweaks to match. So whenever someone's connection kind of drops and like it gets a little pixelated, that's just us putting like trying to put an invisible cut there just to match and sync everything, to have someone react at the same time, of course, to make it look and I think, yeah, I think that was the biggest challenge. That was the biggest challenge, syncing everyone.
Okay. I will turn the question over now to Julia and B. So what challenges, if you could speak about the challenges of filming during the COVID-19 pandemic and how it shaped your films. So I know you spoke briefly about it because of just the circumstance of your apartment, but maybe you could elaborate some more, please.
Sure. I mean, obviously it was just the two of us. So we were the crew, we were, both of us acting. So that in itself, it's already a challenge. But
also we didn't rent any equipment. We used the equipment that we had at hand, which was very, very limited. So I'm a gaffer by trade, and all the film is pretty much lit by practicals and natural light. just because like we didn't really have a lot of like light equipment at home. So it created like this very interesting rhythm where we would wait for the sun to be in the right position because we had all the time in the world. So like we would be like, okay, so like at 3 o'clock, the window in the bathroom is perfectly lit and everything in the bathroom is perfectly lit. So we have between 3 and 3:30 to get these shots. And if we don't get it today, that's okay. We're gonna get it tomorrow, because time is the only resource.
Exactly.
And I mean, Julia did a great job in the acting, but like she's not an actress, so it took a few takes to get to where we wanted. So like it was all of like time. Time is the only resource that we had. So
Exactly. And also the places that we ended up shooting were places that, because we were in the house so much, we were like noticing things about our house that we haven't noticed before. So like, oh, like this lighting in the bathroom at this time, it's so soft, it's so beautiful. So that's, that also informed. It was a challenge, but it ended up being, in our favor at the end of the day. So
Very cool. And I'm curious, did you meet recently or before filming, or because you're both, it's a love story that sort of comes up, that comes about because of the pandemic. So I'm just curious how much of your personal story is in that movie.
Well, we've been in a relationship for many years.
Oh, okay. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was a new relationship.
But for the most time of our relationship, we were doing long distance. We're also Brazilians, like Maju.
Yeah.
And I was living in LA, and Julia was living in São Paulo. So most our communication was very similar to the communication that is showcased in the movie. So like there is a personal element in there, but very different circumstances.
Like watching a movie at the same time in different spaces, playing a game at the same time in different places.
Yeah. So there is a little bit of that, but not during the pandemic. We were already living together during the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Alexandra, I know you spoke a little bit about the challenges, but perhaps you could elaborate and just speak of how those challenges shape the film.
Sure. Yeah, so my story is also a love story, and saying goodbye between these two characters who were very much in love. And so I did hire actors, and it was really interesting to try to prep and shoot them without them being actually close together to one another. I, of course, made sure that they were tested. But there was also this rule or this thought going around that you shouldn't be even without a mask around anyone, even if you've been tested for more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I heard at one point. So we shot most of their stuff one person at a time, and we had the monitor and everything set up outside. Luckily, we shot this at my house, and my house is very small. So we were able to get the camera into the room where we were shooting and have all of the gear outside and everybody outside being able to distance and still watch there. But to plan the shots, to shoot each person's side separately, and then to just have them together for very short amounts of time was a challenge. And then I'd also say it was a challenge to keep everyone feeling comfortable, because that was a time where we were all very scared, and it was, my entire crew was very excited to make the film because everybody had been at home, and we all love what we do. I'm a sound mixer by trade. I do final post-production, re-recording, mixing. And I hadn't been into the studio for a while either, and it was a good opportunity for me to write. But then when it came to shooting, we had to make sure that everybody felt comfortable being there. And so I really bought way too much hand sanitizer, and we had our producer Leah, who was helping out. She was going around making sure everyone had a squirt every few minutes or so. But yeah, it was just a little bit more prep work, which I think in turn made it for a better and more efficient shoot as well. Anyway.
Thank you. And Robert, I know you spoke a little bit about the challenges, but I'd be curious to hear how it shaped the film and what challenges you faced.
Well, it was really interesting because it kind of seems like kind of like what Maju was saying, or everybody was saying a little bit, like it seemed to happen all at the perfect time, kind of, in a way. Not to say that, world pandemic and everything is a perfect time, but since it was taking place just in my house in one room, the other actress that's in it with me is my roommate. And my cinematographer was at the time my girlfriend. We're still friends, everything's fine, I promise. So it was something that we just all brought together, but the biggest challenge about it is that I didn't color it. I didn't do the musical score, and I didn't do the VFX on it. And so, but luckily, by the grace of God, or whatever you would like to say, I reached out to a buddy of mine who lives in Minnesota, who does basic VFX, and like, hey, if I send you this, footage, could you do something? He's like, yeah, because it's like 2 seconds at the most. And then I got a friend of mine's a colorist. He's like, hey, I'm not doing anything, I'll color it for you. I'm like, what? Okay, cool. And then he recommended a composer who's in Germany, Sani Baladi, very wonderful. He's like, yeah, I'll compose this for you, whatever. And it was like, whoa, it was all. So other than the three of us, which were on location, me, myself, and I, my roommate, and my girlfriend, the cinematographer, there were just 3 people on set. And then just sending it out kind of across the United States and the world, it seems like, to put it all together. But the big struggle is that it actually took probably upwards of like 6 months to finish the 5-minute short, because the sound design, I had to ADR the whole thing just for reasons. There's not much lines in it, but nevertheless, and the sound design, I did everything we have nothing recorded on the day. So I did all of that myself. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm kind of lazy. So it took it took a hot second for me to actually like slowly put it in, and then talk with, some friends. They're like, no, that still sounds like crap. I'm like, ugh, I'm going back to it. But to rewind, it all ended up kind of working out in a really strange way of like what was it? There was no need for a bunch of us like to be together, and the nature of how it was written was like there was nobody there in the first place. So other than minor difficulties, it's actually more of a positive look of that there actually was not much difficulty, in a strange way.
It's cool to hear
Give
how
an anti-answer to to your
no,
question.
but it's cool. It's great that it all sort of serendipitously came together, and you got such great talent to be able to work on the film. Because
Oh my gosh, yeah.
yeah, that's awesome.
It's one of the, I think in this business we have to take luck and serendipity when we can get it, for sure, whenever it happens.
Absolutely. Juan, same question. What challenges did you face filming during the pandemic, and how did it shape your film?
Yeah, so when the thing with that script is that I come from a background of animation, and normally when I write the scripts, because I also do, I'm a storyboard artist too, and I always do the scripts for those storyboards. And normally I do not think of limits, I think of the story, and if I have to put out a location that it's needed for so I try to not limit myself that way. But when I was writing this story, I was trying to actually do completely the opposite and try to limit myself with everything. And I just had I wanted to just have one character, not talk that much in the short, and having all the emotions, having all of the locations represent the emotions that the character was going into. And so the hardest part to find for me was the church, because it's well, first it's church. The churches are very difficult to accept to have so you can shoot inside, to have a permission, and so you can shoot your church. They have to analyze the script. If they like it, they'll say yes or no. And so I spent like a good amount of time looking for the church. I wrote and I went to, I mean, I think I went to either 30 or 40 churches around LA.
Oh, wow.
And I found one in Pasadena, luckily, and that person asked me, I mean, the priest asked me how many people were going to be there, and at that time I thought to myself, I better not tell my cinematographer Laís at the time, who she's, by the way, she's also Brazilian. She's amazing, but I wanted to just have two people and try to not disrupt the opportunity that I had at the time, and I told him, no, we're just two. And also luckily, so he said yes, and we started shooting there, and there was the band of the church who was practicing, but they were practicing like very folkloric northern music, and it gave all the mood for the character too, for the actor that is Matt Reese, which is Pedro in the short, and it was a very interesting experience. And for the rest of the locations, normally, I mean, the majority of them were public parks, and we didn't have any issues with that. And yeah, and on the housing is actually my house, and so I asked Laisa to use what we had. I work at a place where I'm also kind of the videographer on the place, and they had like lights for interviews. And just I asked my boss, like, can I grab some of the lights? And he's like, yeah, fine. And Liza did magic, because she grabbed like 3 lights that were not for shooting film, and she did what she could with that, and it went. I mean, I think it went pretty well, and yeah, it was a very interesting experience. I really liked the especially how with those few things we could manage, and with COVID, of course, because we were trying to, we were all maxed all the time, and we had like, yeah, exactly like Alexandra said, like thousands of hand sanitizers all over the place, and but yeah.
All right, thank you. So next question is, can you speak about how the themes in your films speak to the COVID-19 pandemic? And I'm going to start with Robert, because I'm not sure if you can even answer that, or maybe it wasn't.
Let me pull something out of my butt real quick with her. No, for that question, honestly, we made ours just as a fun kind of escapism thing more than anything else. If you want to read into there is a monster in it, spoiler. If you want to read into that being some kind of pandemic thing, you go right ahead. But it was just fun.
Julia and B, how about you?
I mean, for us was like connection, like I feel like because we're foreigners, we're immigrants, all our family is like 8,000 miles away from us, and usually that is a little bit of a problem. But during the pandemic, that became a bigger problem, because you never know if you're gonna see people again and stuff. And me and Julia both lost people during the pandemic, and yeah, and it's just kind of like, so even though we had each other living together, which is a lot more than a lot of people have. We know people that went through this completely by themselves. Yeah, which is harder. But like, even though we were together, we were also feeling like incredibly lonely and incredibly distant, Yeah. And we didn't want to express that, because we feel like everybody's kind of going through that. So let's express like the solution of that. Let's express like the dream that comes out of that, like, let's fix that, even if we're only fixing in a movie. And that's kind of like the story that we came up with. Also, we watched The Apartment a lot when we were locked in the house, and that's our favorite movie, so yeah, there's a little bit of that too.
Very cool. Alexandra, same question. Can you speak about how the themes in your film speak to the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, absolutely. I think that loss obviously is a huge theme that a lot of people have experienced during this, but also what that feeling of disconnection is when your style of mourning isn't what the perceived process of loss should be. In my film, the woman who is experiencing loss is not really sure where her place in it is and how she should be going through these stages. Especially, it's not super clear in the film, but it is a loss of somebody who she's no longer with, so she's sort of reliving her experiences with this person who she's already said goodbye to in her life, but actually losing him spiritually as it relates to herself. And so I think that there, she receives a phone call during the film in which she sort of buttons up and has to just pretend that everything's okay, because she's not really sure if she's allowed to be mourning him in the way that she's mourning him. And I think that that's an interesting theme for people. I've experienced loss myself, where I wasn't going through it the way that people were perceiving me as not being having a heartfelt reaction to the loss, because I had internalized it and went through it in a different way.
And Juan, I know your film also is about love and loss. So perhaps you could also speak to how the themes in your film speak to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, it's well, this it's very interesting that this character he doesn't, and I try to make that as clear as possible, that he doesn't know, because of that cultural shape of it's a man is supposed to not show his feelings that much. I think he tries to internalize everything, and it gets so internalized that even dreams tell him, I think you should talk about the trauma that you have been, because it's not easy losing the person that you love, and losing the person that you love just before having a son or having a baby. It's very heartbreaking. And so but I wanted to have him as a fight between himself, instead of doing a type of ordinary people, the therapy and the whole thing with the flashbacks. So I really wanted to explore what it would be like to have a therapy with yourself. Of course, it's not the idea, but the object, the idea for me with the locations was having him, each time that he remembers something, he tries to fight with it until the end, where he finally tries to escape, but he has this notebook that is always with him. And I think that's also the meaning of the theme story, that you carry on with these traumas. The idea is to solve them, and it's to go to therapy, talk to people. Don't have it just by yourself, because this you live in a society, and if you isolate completely, I think that's the worst that a human being can do. And with the pandemic, everybody felt kind of that way, because everybody was isolated, and that's why I think it could resonate to a large audience that went through this the last year, especially.
Mm-hmm. And Maju, your whole film is kind of on Zoom, it feels like. So I'm curious, how did can you speak about how the theme in your film speaks up to the COVID-19 pandemic? It's a very fun and flirty sort of new love story.
Yes. So the theme that I was that I wanted to be the most, I mean, what I was going for was to explore the theme of hope, because and I know everyone else, I was feeling very hopeless. Like I said, this was made in the very beginning, so we could not see any light at the end of the tunnel. So I was feeling completely hopeless, but I knew that things would be okay again eventually. And that's what I wanted to explore. Hope, going into something and then coming out of there with a happy and surprising ending. So that's, because I wanted to do something very lighthearted, I thought about someone going into a work meeting, a Zoom work meeting that is very boring. So you don't expect to get anything out of that. So you're just like there doing, like trying to stay awake, and then you're surprised by finding someone there. So finding love and beginning a love story. So that's what I was going for, to in a way tell everyone, like, there is hope. We are going to come out of this with something better than what we started. So I think that was the theme, and also love is always, like, I love to talk about love in film, and so that of course is there also.
Very cool. For our next question, can you speak about your collaboration process on the film? And I know that you've all sort of touched briefly on it, but perhaps you could elaborate more on the collaboration process. And does anyone want to start? Okay, Alexandra.
I can start. I think the collaboration that I had on this film was very serendipitous, and it actually is the reason why I made the film, because I was, like I said, I was so close to talking myself out of making it because of the difficulties of COVID. But what happened was I really wanted to shoot something, and I thought maybe if I can find somebody who owns their own camera, or you know, who wants to shoot something, who has an imaginative eye. And I called an editor friend of mine named Diana Cruz, and I used to work with her a long time ago. We used to transfer Daly's film to tape. It was an overnight process we did. It was the first color pass. So I called her and I asked, do you happen to know any cinematographers who would be interested in helping me shoot this short? Here's the script. And she said, it's so strange that you're calling me about this, because I just had a cinematographer friend call me asking for a sound mixer hookup. So it was just meant to be. And I called him. His name's Leo Harmio, and he's probably one of the most inspirational people to talk to, because he loves what he does. His work is impeccable. His eye is incredible. And he has, you know, any idea that I came up with, he was ready to embellish on it instead of talk me out of how big it was. You know, I wanted a shot at the end that was, you know, that mimicked a shot that is a crane shot. And I said, you know, this is probably totally impossible. And he said, no, it's not. We'll figure it out. Just tell me what you want out of it. And so I came up with a very intense shot list, in which I thought that I would get a phone call from him saying, like, well, this is ambitious, but we'll probably have to scale it back. But instead, he complimented me on its organization, and, you know, took it as a challenge to get all of those shots in one day. 2 days. And so, yeah, he inspired me to get this going. He inspired me to make it to the level that we made it. And then he brought on some of his normal camera crew that he works with, and also a producer named Leah Robson, who was also incredible. She worked out a lot of details, even when we didn't get a test result back in time. She jumped in and made sure that we had that happen. She made sure that we had tents, and all of the little things that I was wrapped up and not thinking about, but really helped us during the shoot. And then I was able to have Diana do our edit, which was great to work with her again after, like, 15 years of not working together. And we hired a colorist who also worked with us on that graveyard shift, and now he's a very successful colorist. So it became like a very family project, and I couldn't have asked for anybody better to be involved with.
Very cool. Robert, you kind of touched on this earlier because you said how just all these incredible people came together serendipitously from all around the world to collaborate. But perhaps you could just speak a little bit more about the collaboration process.
Yeah, well, it was so funny because it was an idea that I had for a handful of years prior. And I would say it was more the cinematographer, my ex-girlfriend's insistence on shooting this more than anything else, that I give her 99% of the credit for it getting made in the first place, because I've been wanting to do it forever. And then past that, I have some wonderful friends. My roommate, I go up to my roommate, Amy Sturdivant's her name. It's just like, hey, would you mind, being the, girlfriend in this? You don't really have to do anything except stand there and, make a face pretty much. If you see it, you'll understand. And she looks at me and she's like, fine. That's the kind of relationship we have. But in terms of actually shooting, cutting it together, and all of the finer details, I have a very strong opinion that you have to kind of let go of control a little bit in many, many ways. So I came up with the general idea, blocking shots and everything like that. And then Robin Pabello, the cinematographer, I go, do your magic and what you think, to make it look pretty and blah, 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 whatever you think would look nice. And then I talk with my colorist friend. He's like, hey, do whatever you want. There's a thing in there that he ended up adding this interesting like light gag in post that I wouldn't even thought of. And I was like, dude, that's freaking dope. Yeah, let's do that. Talk with the composer. It's like, hey, the general idea is, this and creepy, but, still beautiful. Like at the same time, he sends back, first go. And I'm just like, yeah, let's use that, And I think over the 20 years that I've been doing this, it's just understanding that collaborating with people is just that. You have to not micromanage and have your mind open to the fact that it most likely won't look like exactly what it's like in your head, and then just being open to whatever little interesting magic comes out of it, of like, okay, let's just see what happens, I guess. And I think a lot of times you get some real magic out of it. So just keeping yourself open, I suppose. Yeah.
Very cool. And Julia and B, your collaboration process was much more personal, right? Because it was just the two of you that were working on the film?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when we say like, oh, I directed and I edited, and B says like, I did this and did that, like in reality, we were doing everything together, right? And that was very good for a lot of reasons. Like, I relate to what Robert said, that there's a magic there, that everything works out for the best. But it can also be, at times we were like, no, like I want to do it this way, and no, I want to do this way. And who is the authority? So yeah, I had a little bit of that, but I mean, for the most part, it was great. I mean, it was very smooth.
Yeah. She says that because she won every discussion.
Of course.
I mean, she was a director, so at the end of the day, what can I say?
Maju, can you talk?
It just makes you a smart man. Sorry to interrupt.
I know you touched upon a little bit of the collaboration process, but it all sounds like it was so difficult for it to all come together. So I'm curious, what did you learn out of the creation, the collaboration process for your film?
Yeah, so like everyone else here, I lucked out in having an incredible team, liking the project and wanting to jump in. Like I said, everyone had to put on more than one hat. So I was very lucky that everyone was happy to do it and just willing to go the extra mile to make it happen. And we had long meetings with actors to find the perfect background, and we had a lot of challenges. Like one actor, she didn't have she only had her room, so we had to try out a lot of different setups. She had to move her desk and move her computer and get books to change the height of the camera. So I was very lucky that everyone was willing to do that. And almost everyone in this project was in LA, even though for this, it didn't really matter because we were doing it online. But I was also lucky to have a wonderful composer from Brazil. And I didn't know him before this. And when I showed him the project, he was like, oh, I want to do this. And I have a lot of ideas. I'm like, okay, great, let's do it. So, I think everything worked out better than I expected. And yes, I was extremely happy. And I also had to call a few friends because I have a lot of people in on camera, but not doing anything. And so I had to call my brother and I had to call a few friends, like, can you please just be one of the people in the meeting? You don't have to do much. You just have to sync like timing. You have to like clap and do this. And they were like, sure, I'll help you. But everyone was very happy with the result. And I was like, okay, great. So yeah, it was great. I love collaborating. And I mean, we all know how filmmaking is very collaborative. So
Very cool. Juan, can you speak a little bit about the collaboration process on your film? And then we'll go into some questions from our audience.
Yeah, no, it was, we all know how hard it is sometimes to find, in general, a producer or a DP, depending on the project. And in the pandemic, it's very difficult. And so I knew Liza, I mean, since the first classes, and she was very interested in doing something related to black and white, because she was into Paweł Polakowski works and at that time, and I actually did too, and I wanted to play with negative space, and I wanted to play with what would it be, there's a lonely character, how can it relate to black and white, and so that's why we shoot that. And I was like, so how can we rent the camera and everything? Like, so I was like, we just, Francesca and the film, and I was like, yeah. How about it? And she told me like, well, that was recorded in a simple Canon camera, and I was like, well, I mean, if we can, that's a good idea, and we can. And so we grabbed actually my Sony. It wasn't a Canon, but we grabbed a simple DSLR and just started shooting that with the camera, and it was she was very helpful with everything. Like that's what I like about her way to work, is that I can tell the craziest idea, and she will try to find a solution for it, even though it's too nuts. And she always asks me, this is the one that you like this is a shot that you wanted, and if it gets close to it, because it's like Robert said, sometimes it's it's just what you have at the time, but the majority of the time we got the shots that we wanted, and it was a very good experience. And I have a roommate. Well, I at the time had a roommate, which he's a music producer, and he has a band, and he was interested in doing doing music for a short. And I was like, well, I mean, do you want to do this for the short? And he started doing like, he grabbed samples of symphonies, orchestras, and he did a crazy amount of work, and it was great. Like everything was amazing. But he did just one piece on piano that was amazing, and I was like, I like that one. And he was like, well, I mean, I did the whole thing, but if you like the piano one, okay. But it was amazing. He was also very great, and the tones that he did for the character specifically, he nailed what I wanted to achieve. And as Robert said too, I think because I come from animation, I try to control everything because I have a stretched amount of time, and I'm the only one that can control the whole thing. And I think also my DP taught me to not be so controlling. I wanted to see the camera, and she was like, "Let me do my thing. Yeah, I'll do whatever we want to achieve on the short." And we achieved it. It was a great job. Like I learned a lot from the whole crew. You know.
Very cool. And this next question is going to be a two-part question. How do you think your experience shooting under these restrictions will influence you as an artist in the future? And then I'm going to also include what's next for each of you, as that was dropped in the chat. Who'd like to start? Okay, Maju.
I think that one lesson that we're all taking from this is that we can always, it's always positive to look around and see what you have, what resources you have, and create on that, especially when you're starting out and sometimes you don't have a lot of resources. I think that can really change the outcome of your project. So we all had to deal with limitations, and we tried to make the best use of them. And we are all very happy with the results, and we are here at this amazing panel at UCLA Film Festival. So if you really like, you can do it. If you do the best you can with what you have, chances are it's going to be something very cool. So sometimes we're looking ahead of us and trying to, oh, I wish I had $1 million to make this movie. Well, if you don't have it now, don't think about that. Just do with what you have and create on that, because like you're gonna do great if you do that and you put yourself into it. I think that that was something that I learned. And the second part was what's next, right?
Yeah, what's next for each filmmaker?
Okay, so I work with production, but I'm switching because I'm a writer and I want to work only with writing. So I'm in this transition. So I have some projects for the past years. I've been working more with production. So I have some projects coming up. I have 2 feature films coming up, and that I worked in the production team. So I'm very excited about that. I think one of them is coming next year. It's called Bittersweet. And the other one, hopefully next year, but maybe the year after that, it's called Hi, How Are You? And for writing, which is what I'm most excited about, I am currently developing an unannounced romantic comedy with the company. So that's what I've been doing, and that's what's coming for me.
Very cool. Robert, how about you?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Oh, okay. So first part of the question is very similar to what Maju said, actually, in that I think there's a certain virtue to working under restriction, especially when it comes to creative things. I've always been influenced by, let me explain myself, right? Is that you look at big things like Tenet, right? And I don't know if you guys remember Aronofsky's movie Noah, that came out like a handful of years back. Both of these directors, director of Tenet, for goodness sakes, oh gosh, somebody help me, please.
Nolan.
No,
There you go. Thank you. Oh my gosh, my brain blew up right there. You look at they're wonderful filmmakers, but there's an interesting difference between their lower budget movies, say Aronofsky's The Wrestler, right, with Mickey Rourke, and Nolan's that thing where the guy has the memory problems. Yeah, I can't remember anything. I'm that guy, apparently. But it's seeing those movies in which they're working restriction, they end up being these very, very creative things, both shot wise as well as narrative wise. And then this isn't to rag on it, but you see like Tenet and Noah, and they have hundreds of millions of dollars, and for me personally, I hope he never sees this because it's not a dig, but I find myself being like, wait, what's going on right now? I'm not very sure what, there's so much going on. So I think it's actually a virtue as a filmmaker, just creative in general, is actually restricting yourself, because that's where you actually get creativity from, is not being able to do everything that you want to do. You got to figure out how to make it work, I suppose. So that was the biggest thing, is that I was very surprised with my short by the time we ended up finishing it, watching it and being like, oh my gosh, this looks like a movie. That was not the intention originally. It was just to make something, just a fun little thing. And it obviously got accepted, which we're all extremely thrilled with. So yeah, restriction definitely, even once, if and when you get to the point of having, like good budgets and everything, just reminding yourself like, you know what, maybe instead of $10 million, we should only do like $2 million, or something, make sure everybody gets paid well, but then, not allow us to go off the rails, so to speak. And then in terms of what's coming up next, just shooting a couple short films, one called Cucumber, another called Hench People, and another called Welcome Back. All of them fun little shorts as well. To give even more background, is that I'm also a stunt performer. I have been for about 15 years. And so much of my friends and I, we always make fun little action things and fight things. If any of you'd like to check it out, you can go onto YouTube and look up EMC Monkeys. That was an old thing that we used to do way back when. But them also having narrative little pieces, fun little shorts to do. There is a feature film, one that a friend of mine started writing a couple years back, a 3D animated feature. It's called, currently the name is Cats and Jammer, but temporary name anyway, that hopefully will be done in the next few years. Just shot a movie out in Florida called Clutch, which should be in the editing phase right now. And what is it? From there, just slowly developing new things that we have no name for at all at the moment, but slowly moving forward, maybe turning this into something longer too. I don't know, long feature film or something, but lots of fun. Did we lose Morgan?
I think we did.
Oh no. Oh, there he is. He's back. He made it back. Morgan, you're alive.
I'm back. I am so sorry for that. My internet just went out, but I'm connected to a new internet, so my apologies.
Oh, no problem.
But I'm glad to be
everything
back.
I said was just a bunch of BS anyway, Morgan.
I know we're a little bit short on time, but I'd like for everyone to please talk about their upcoming projects. Let's see, Juan, if you could go next, please.
You know what, for the first question, I'm gonna say the same as Alexander Robert, because I think that's the biggest thing that we all learn. I remember two things when I finalized shooting that and the short film and put it on festival. There was Iñárritu talking about Amores Perros and how he was robbed in between the production and how he lost the camera and everything. It was a whole thing. He had to limit himself in terms of shots and how where the actors should be. And then I thought about the academy at my city where I was born in Venezuela, which is now crumbling down because they don't have the right amount of equipment. They don't have equipment at all. Generally, and it's very sad, but still they managed to do amazing stuff. And I think when the pandemic hit, I learned how fortunate I was to be here at UCLA and have the opportunity to shoot things that I wanted, and also managed to know how to limit some things, but still have that drive to be as creative as possible. And for the next project, I'm doing I'm finalizing development. I'm actually looking for keys and a co-producer on a short that I wanna do a fundraising on, and then shoot next year. And the title for now is called Luna Azul. And so yeah, we're into that for now. That's what I'm going through next.
Very cool. And Julianne B. What next projects do you have in the works? And also same question, how do you think your experience shooting under the restrictions will influence you as an artist in the future?
Yeah, I agree with everybody else. I mean, I love David Lynch's quotes of like constrictions make for a creative space, and I really believe in that. Like, if you have everything, you don't need to be inventive, but if you don't have everything, you have to. So yeah, that's a big thing. Also, right now I'm in documentaries, so I'm an assistant editor on a docu-series, and we're also shooting our own short docs. And documentary is an environment that you have to be, inventive and, adaptable. Yeah, so the experience of the film of Bathroom Window definitely, in terms of lighting, like natural lighting, all these things, really, really taught us.
Also learning how to work together better, right? Because previously, like sometimes I would bring Julia as an assistant when I was gaffing, which is a very different relationship because that's not really like collaborative, right? And Julia would ask me to assist her in, like a documentary or something like that. And then working on like the same level with the no hierarchy, like that then made us work better together. So now I have this short that has been like sitting on a hard drive for like 3 years, I think, maybe 4 years. And I finally, told Julia that I'm okay with her trying a cut of it. I'm also writing a short to shoot over Christmas, which I want her to be heavily involved with as well. I feel like as far as like what's ahead, we have the short doc project and stuff. Like, I feel like the funniest thing that happened for us is like when we're shooting Bathroom Window, we had nothing but time. And I feel like now, like she's working in this docu-series, which is going to be really big, and I'm working in development, and we have everything but time. So the situation is completely inverted. So like we're doing this today. Tomorrow we have to wake up at 7 to go to like Santa Madre to like shoot a documentary. And then like this short that I'm writing, we're like, okay, so like we have like 3-4 days during Christmas break that we can shoot this in, and like, and then like we can. So like it's funny how the situation completely inverted over the last year, and that's a good thing because it means that we're busy, we're working. That's great. Yeah.
Very cool. And Alexandra, what new projects do you have coming up? And also, same question, how do you think your experience shooting under these restrictions will influence you as an artist in the future?
Honestly, shooting under these restrictions was a little bit empowering because if we can come together and make something in the midst of this chaos, and not only being super scary and daunting and full of loss and heartache, but also be connected with people who are, in love with film and filmmaking. Like, life is short, and it just showed me that, if I have something that I want to make, that I need to make it. And I'm going to keep that with me, hopefully for the next, a couple of years, while I venture into making some more films. Up next, I'm currently mixing a television show in the room over. And it's for Netflix, and I also just finished a feature film for directors The Daniels, and that's going to be coming out over in 2022 that I'm actually quite proud of. But in terms of my own projects, I was in the UCLA program. I wrote a pilot about a woman being separated from her son in her quest in finding him. And I hope to refine that script and take it out to hopefully get developed. And also I wrote another short that I'll be shooting next summer, which will be sort of music centric, about a young girl who is waking up to the fact of, of womanhood and what that means in the world. And so it's called Punk Rock Ballerina. She goes from, being an innocent ballerina to sort of, finding empowering music to come out with.
Very cool. Well, okay, we'll wrap our discussion here. And I just want to give a special thank you, all of you, Julia, B, Juan, Maju, Robert, and Alexandra. Thank you to everyone for joining us. As a reminder, we'll be holding a series of live panels today and tomorrow. So please take a look at our schedule of events on the festival website. Join us for the next Filmmaker Panel at 3 p.m. today, which will feature the filmmakers of A Poem from Yi King, All We Know About Ian, Champ 5, Hello, My Sweet Boy, and The Only Beautiful Thing. Don't forget to watch the affiliated films before each panel. Our festival awards ceremony will begin at 2:30 on Sunday, followed by a networking event at 3 p.m. We'll be raffling off a free course at the awards ceremony, so you don't want to miss it. If you haven't yet done so, don't forget to vote for our Audience Choice Award on the UCLAX Film Fest website. Also, please visit the Entertainment Studies website to learn about our free upcoming seminars, scholarships, and fall courses. Fall is currently open for enrollment, and you can find our catalog of classes in the chat. Thank you again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.